Coming up on Walk the Plank, I give you a sneak peek at the brand new limited edition Calico Drake decoder statue brought to you by Phoenix Comics and Toys. I talk with series creator Eric Sprouse, the voice behind Dead and Buried Treasures.
The island will be mine.
Give you a sneak peek at tonight's movie, which is considered the worst movie ever made. And we're going to answer some of your Facebook questions. All that and more coming up.
Yeah!
Welcome back to Walk the Plank, the Dead and Buried Treasures pre-show. I'm your host, Rich Kanji, and there he is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were there. How many people have said that in an interview? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were there.
Yeah. Showing off his brand new pirate mug, the series creator, Mr. Eric Sprouse.
Nice to see you again, Rich. Pleasure as always.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Last month, I believe I referred to you as the Mel Blanc of Dead and Buried Treasures. I think this I think this month I'm going to refer to you as the Peter Cullen or Tom Kenny of Dead and Buried Treasures for all the youngins out there, because Peter Cullen was the voice of Optimus Prime and Tom Kenny voiced SpongeBob and just about all these other characters on Cartoon Network. Right. So yeah, that's you. And
I'll take it. You know, I'm the young at part too, and I everybody's grown up with SpongeBob. I remember watching him in college, so I'll take that. Mel Blanc.
I still watch him.
I do too. In fact, he was on my TV today. I was watching him just today. But it's funny because somebody else called me like Mel Blanc too, and I always take that as a compliment. I love doing those voices. It's fun.
Well, you know, that's why I said that last month and this month. And there's probably some people out there that don't know this about you, and why I say that about you is that you actually voice every character on this show. And we got some exclusive footage of you doing some voices.
Oh boy.
Straight from the editing floor. Yeah. Because unfortunately the other clip I have of you singing in the shower is not permitted on this show. So
that's how I do my that's how I did Marabella's mermaid thing last episode.
Yeah, we have clips of that. We just
it's like me in the shower, you know.
Yeah. And you know what? If you subscribe to his fans only page, you'll be able to see that shower footage.
Yeah, get a free mug. Huh? Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for the people out there, here's some footage of Eric doing his best voice acting work.
Captain, with all due respect, I once saw you try to take your pants off over your head.
Hey, my cousin, Jack, thanks you, and everyone else. He's on hard times, too.
And we'll see you next time on Dead and Buried Treasures. Good night, everyone.
You are a talented man.
You know, it's funny when you do those voices. I don't remember how I came up with the idea. I know I wanted to do Jack, you know, with the you know, the crowing of it all. Davey, I was unsure because I thought I'd get letters. I honestly, in this climate, I thought for sure I'd get some kind of letters that says, oh well, you're making fun of blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm really not. I mean, sometimes how the message is perceived is what makes it offensive. I don't mean to make anything offensive. I just do very good voices like this for some reason, and I don't mean to offend anybody. I don't think it's offensive at all. I never state anything ever beyond I don't even state what Davy Bones' preferences are to anything. So I just do the voice and it comes that way. Now the villains, I did a villain before in another show I did, and it was, we played parodies on names. And so of Hannibal Lecter, we called him Cannibal Spectre. It was a lot like this. And that's kind of what we do with the villain here that we're going to introduce here in the next few episodes or so. In fact, tonight, we have another little cliffhanger at the end involving the villain still watching Captain Drake.
Here I am doing the main villain on the show, whose name has yet to be determined.
The good captain taught me that. Prepare to receive our support ships. If all goes according to plan, this will be over long before it ever begins.
And I know I get a lot of fan mail on, when's this new villain coming on the scene? When's the new villain coming on the scene? And I'm like, I'm biding my time. There's a reason I have to do it this way, because we keep interjecting episodes into the timeline because of like an episode coming up is for the Whiskey Rebellion, and we have to get that in before July. And we forgot about it. It was footage already shot. So when you do these voices, it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and I have a lot of fun doing it. And when you're your own boss on the show, that's only a plus.
That's true. And you're really good at it. You're really good at it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I even did your voice in the second season when you come up. Oh, Drake, you're such a fun guy.
Yeah.
When you come up, you pop up as your cameo. That was a lot of fun too.
That was a lot of fun shooting that.
What was the name of that guy? Captain Walter Time. That's
Walter Time.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun playing the villain. That was good. So, you mentioned this episode coming up in July. And speaking of July, that is not the only big thing happening in July.
It's not.
No. You have a limited edition Calico Drake decoder statue coming out for the 4th of July.
Yeah, in fact, the fun thing is 45 minutes before we started this show tonight, Rob Fleck over at Phoenix Comics and Toys sent me the final draft of the new, I call it variant number 3. I was a big comic book collector like yourself.
Right.
And I always refer to alternate covers as variant covers. And this is a variant statue. Like, for example, I have these handy. This is the original Captain Calico Drake decoder statue. I know that's probably a little out of focus. And this was the number 2 one, which was for Christmas. And there's differences in color and everything. And they have like the different bottoms, and the doubloons look different. Well, the one they're doing now is for Uncle Sam for the 4th of July. And it's just in time for Memorial Day and the 4th of July. And so when they release this next statue, it's going to be a salute to Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the flag is removable, which is really nice. That's a nice feature. And you now have a brand new doubloon inside that is red, white, and blue. So that's really cool. He really changed it up. It looks great. Looks good.
I told the creators of the statue for the fan club, I said, this variant looks great. In fact, I was more impressed by the doubloon. And he does different bottoms to these statues. You can see the different one here for the original, and you can see the different one here for the Santa Claus one. And he has a red, white, and blue one for the bottom of the statue that's very rarely going to be seen unless you pick it up. And the balloon itself is red, white, and blue too. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, he did a phenomenal job. He really did.
Yep. Love it.
We have a treat for everyone tonight, I guess. Call it a treat. If that treat happens to be in the form of a dog bone. Because tonight's movie is considered one of the worst movies ever made.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
the funny thing about that is, even though it's considered one of the worst movies, it has a nice cult following. I mean, there's a lot of people that love this movie because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so bad. And obviously, I am speaking of the Ed Wood film Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Mhm.
And it's funny because you and Ed Wood have a lot in common.
If you think about it, it's true. I make horrible TV. They made a horrible movie.
And
You
he
know,
was
it's
the writer, director, editor. He did it all. And that's kind of like you on this show, although I got to say your special effects are way better than his, because it's come a long way from using styrofoam.
I hide the strings real well.
Yeah,
Oh,
you do. Yeah, you
It's
do.
funny that you called it a dog bone, because we're introducing a new character on tonight's show.
See, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. You write this pretty slick. I mean, you did
It's like
pretty
I
good.
write this stuff.
I mean, you're no Fiore, but I mean, like,
Oh,
who is? I mean,
But- right.
no, I'm just kidding about that. Fiore's actually great. He's a
he is
producer.
awesome.
But we introduced a new character tonight in the form of a dog named Scallywag, and we
Mhm.
had another animatronic prop that I found that I put together. It was a Christmas prop, but we put them together in a pirate theme.
I mean, not only do you have a talking dog, but you have an iconically bad movie.
You and I talked about this before we started tonight. That it was made in 1959 on IMDb, but I think it actually was made in 1957. But it was originally released as Grave Robbers from Outer Space, and the copyright, they changed the title at the last second. And when they didn't change the copyright, which is how it fell into the public domain. They changed it from Grave Robbers from Outer Space to Plan 9 from Outer Space. And there's a reason they call it Plan 9. You have to see and watch the movie.
Right.
It's got zombies, it's got vampires, it's got outer space aliens, it's got space battles, it's got returning corpses from the dead. It's got Bela Lugosi, it's got Vampira, and I swear to God, she's like one of the sexiest vampires. I think Elvira based her look after Vampira, because her waist is like this.
Mhm.
It's almost, she has such a tiny waist. I bet her waist isn't 15 inches. That's probably, but you have to see it. But
Right.
she's got a sexy vampire. You got Bela Lugosi. Unfortunately, Bela Lugosi, for the people out there who are new to our world, was the original Dracula. And he actually died before this film was finished. So they shot some of his stuff, but when he died during the making of the film, Ed Wood was like, well, what are you going to do now? So what they did was they got his body double to do this. You know how Dracula does this in the 1930s. Dracula. That's how they cover it up. They have a guy in a cape with the slick back hair. But the thing is, the body double they got, he's got to be 8 feet tall. So when he's on these tiny little sets walking around, it's noticeable.
Yeah.
But it's got Bela Lugosi, Vampira, Tor Johnson as the bald-headed lieutenant who comes back from the dead. It was only made on a budget of $60,000 back in the late 1950s. So it's a good one.
It is safe to state that the grandchildren of some of the people in this theater will not be born on Earth. They come from the bowels of hell, a transformed race of walking dead, zombies guided by a master plan for complete domination of the Earth. Plan 9 from Outer Space. Starring the most nightmarish cast ever, Bela Lugosi, the seductive Vampira, and Tor Johnson as the Walking Dead.
Turn off your electro gun! No! No! Stop him, Dennis!
I can't get it. It's jammed.
Stop him, you fool!
bullets bounce off their bodies. Rockets, missiles, jets cannot stop their death ships. What earthly power can stop this terror? For a glimpse of things to come, see this blast of screen suspense. For it could be happening right now.
9. Plan 9 coming up. Yeah, you're in for a real treat. So you are. So one of your favorite parts of this show is answering the Facebook questions. And
I do.
And we do have a lot of them. I know we don't get to all of them, so we try to carry some over. However, in this case, before I get into these, I was actually messaged a question asking why this Dead and Buried Treasures, the show, only airs once a month instead of once a week. And I said, you know what? I'm going to ask that on the show tonight.
Huh. Why? Well, I'll tell you what, man, it's pretty grueling. And I think the misconception that we like to cover up out there for the fans and the people that watch the show is that we are this big group of people with technicians, and we have editors and writers and all this other stuff. And you can pretty much relate to this too, I think, Rich. When it comes to Walk the Plank, it's just you. You know what I mean? You write it, you produce it, you edit it together. When it comes to Dead and Buried Treasures, it's kind of the same way with me.
Right.
I write, edit it, I put it together. I'm in it. I have to do all the makeup myself, all the costuming myself, all the camera work, all the lighting, all the slate design, all the directing, the producing. And then when you involve the animatronics and the special effects, then I have to chroma key everything, put up the chroma key, make connections with Professor Gertie, Dana, to come over, shoot her stuff. Now I have an idea up here of what I want. It's very involved. And, we're doing the work probably of about 30 to 40 people between you and me. Now, the credits go on for quite a while, and I'll have all these associate producers. And those are the people who are down the line at our affiliates, like PCTV, BPT, EUTV, Fayette TV, FCTV, The Vortex, The Monster Channel, WBXZ, and Buffalo, all these places. Those are our associate producers. But basically, when it boils down to it, it's like a one-man show. Just like Walk the Plank is like a one-man show. And it's a dog and pony show. We're trying to show as best we can what we do with just us. So that's why it takes so long. We're doing a month's worth of work. I'm sorry, we're doing I was binging the show Lost. I'll be quick with this. I was binging the show Lost. I watched a documentary how it's put together. And one of the producers says it takes 10 days to put together a show, but then we have to have a show every week. And I thought that's really interesting because they don't have enough time to do one week to week to week. That's why they do reruns. So with us, that's why it takes so long. It's just like a really long process.
You're right.
Yeah.
And I have a special clip that I brought that
Where are you getting these clips?
listen, I got to do my homework here too. Okay. Although this one,
hey, we got a clip. You don't know anything about it, but it's a clip.
Right. And it's not the clip of you in the shower. Again, we already discussed that one.
Thank God.
Yeah. But this one, I have a clip of you doing your thing with the green screen. And what I wanted to do is I wanted everybody to see the work involved. Now, this isn't the most crystal clear clip because, you're filming the computer screen and the actual editing going on. So, to see the difference between you just standing in front of a green screen and then all the work you have to do afterwards that puts the smoke effect and the sound effects and the background, that's a lot of work and it's a huge difference. So what we're going to look at the very basics without the effects first. Right. We're going to check that out first. I want everybody to see that first.
Okay.
It casts some type of enchantment spell on you now that you now have the ability to speak.
Yup, that is correct.
But why didn't you tell us?
I told Gertie, but I did not want the captain to find out.
But why?
Because he already did not like me much, and I was afraid this would push him over the top.
Well, as you can see, that was just ridiculous because the captain loves you. Right, Captain? Drake.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Yes, of course, I do.
So there it is, raw, uncut. There you go. Now, after you go through the drooling process of editing this, because it can be a long process. Now this is the finished product.
It casts some type of enchantment spell on you now that you now have the ability to speak.
Yup, that is correct.
But why didn't you tell us?
I told Gertie, but I did not want the captain to find out.
But why?
Because he already did not like me much, and I was afraid this would push him over the top.
Well, as you can see, that was just ridiculous because the captain loves you. Right, Captain? Drake.
Yes, yes. Yes. Yes, of course, I do.
So you see the big difference between those.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's
you know what's noticeable to me, Rich, is the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Sound effects. People take sound for granted because they just assume it's there, you know. But if you watch that first clip, there's no sound. I mean, like you'll have me talking, but you don't have the sound of the ship. Like we're down in the field, you don't hear the water, you don't hear any music, you don't hear a lot of like sound effects, that kind of thing, and like for jokes that are told, you don't hear any of that. And then when you're watching the finished product, you're like, oh my God, because you saw Davy Bones there with the green screen behind him, and then you saw it with the pirate ship behind him, and you saw the same thing with me. You saw the same thing with Professor Gertie. And the dog that she's talking to, Scallywag, that's the name of our new character, Scallywag. I'm actually operating the dog like this with wires, while Gertie's talking, And so there's a lot of, it takes a lot to put one episode of Dead and Buried Treasures together. It's just, it's a painful process, but in the end, it's something that I'm very proud of. My aunt watches the show now, and she's like, finally get it. And I'm like, oh, good. Well, what do you think? I love your show. Why do you show such the old movies? I'm like, because they're classics and they don't cost anything. And she's like, oh, those are good. I like that. It's Price and Abbott and Costello. And I'm thinking, well, good, because that's what we're going to stick with. But the point being, she watches it and she takes for granted that, like, I've had letters saying, where in the world do you shoot on a pirate ship?
Right.
And I'm like, we don't.
It's a compliment.
Yeah, and it really is. It's a compliment because it's like now here's the thing. Anytime we're in the bowels of the ship, I don't have any fog, so I can be very careful with what I do down there. When I'm up topside, fog is very forgiving. Like I can cover that fog up, and I have to use a little bit of fog because it covers the green screen roughness around the edges,
Right.
But when I'm down on the ship, I choose dark backgrounds because it's when you're lit up in front of that green screen, the way that you can see that I am, it hides a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why anytime I'm on top of the ship, on the deck, I use fog. The island, I don't really worry about because I have that running water behind me and some other stuff. But on that ship, I like to have the fog. That's very forgiving to some of the mistakes we make on the show.
We have one from Coriopolis, Pennsylvania, Shannon Nesbitt. She asks, can you tell us where you got the idea for the blood pressure monitor on your wrist? My husband and I backed your show up several times and watched it again and laughed so hard every time you went to that joke that I think I peed myself a little.
She's talking about the last episode with the ex-wife character that Drake has. There was a movie called Smokey and the Bandit, and it was way back in 1977. And Jackie Gleason, who is one of the most undersold actors even to this day, played a character, one of the immortal characters, I think, in all of cinema, Sheriff Buford T. Justice. And he was known for The Honeymooners, but man, he nailed this character. There's a few characters in cinema today that like the actors owned, and he owned Sheriff Buford T. Justice. And I was always told back in the 70s when I was growing up, my dad looked like him. And my dad was a police officer, private detectives. And so it was my salute to Jackie Gleason, because in the second movie, the sequel, Smokey and the Bandit, he wore a blood pressure monitor on his arm. And it was hysterical how like the bandit would even come up in a topic or conversation. It would start beeping, because he's just like, he's had it with the bandit. And that's one of the reasons I did it. I got the idea from Smokey and the Bandit.
That's great.
Oh,
I love that movie.
Good stuff. That's a great movie. Just dumb comedy.
Devlin Brady from Uniontown, Pennsylvania asks me to ask you where you come up with the ideas for your stories. You're clearly talented and have a great sense of humor. I know. I shouldn't even be reading this question because you could see his head expanding. Your humor is absolutely the best. How does he do so much comedic timing in his writing?
Well, I can't disagree with you, Devlin. Is it Devlin?
Yes.
About the genius thing? Yeah, I can't disagree with that, but no.
Thanks, Devlin.
Yeah, thanks. This will give me some topic fodder to use with not only Rich, but Fiore and everybody at the TV station as well. But, I don't know. I literally sit down and when it's time to write a new show, and I know there's 8 segments and I have to have a beginning to an end. So I said, okay, I have to get from segment 1 to segment 8. What do I do in the middle? And I just start typing, and it's literally like Hemingway, I get a drink and I sit there, I sit that down, I start typing, and it just takes me on my own little journey. I don't even know where I'm going to end up, but I know I got to get to a certain space by the end. At the end, I know this has to happen. So how do I get there? So I kind of write it out as a treatment. Like, here's what I think is going to happen in this segment, this segment, this segment, this segment. Then I sit that aside. I use that as my Bible when I start typing. I said, okay, that's what I want to happen in this segment. That's what I want to happen in this segment. I just write it out. And your wife paid me a great compliment, Rich. Dana, who plays Professor Gertie on the show. She says, oh my God, how you do this? This is just amazing. And she said that to me once. She complimented me on the writing and said, it's just amazing how you do all this. It's just a creative release. Mm-hmm. It is. My mom was a great artist, painting. I mean, she would have tons of painting, and I just do a different type of artwork. I do it like writing, and enjoy it. Have a lot of fun with it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're out of time. We got to get to this movie.
Fast, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. It does.
So let's dive right into the movie. It's coming up next. The classic Ed Wood, Plan 9.
Plan 9 from outer space.
On a dead man's chest, yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum. Drink and the devil be done for the rest, yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum. The mate was fixed by the possum's spike, possum's brain with a marlin spike, and a cookie's throat was marble-like, had been gripped by fingers then, and then